Prostitution, a word that raises a few eyebrows when mentioned here in the Philippines. Prostitution is the act of offering sexual services to the people in exchange for money. Women are the usual sex workers who provide these kinds of services, and cases have been reported that these women are harassed, raped, and are even involved in sexual trafficking. However, we cannot deny that despite the dangers of selling sexual services, some people still do it for the money. Thus, prostitution should be legalized because if sex workers are not protected by the law, they are left vulnerable to different opportunistic people and are more prone to harassment. So, why should we legalize prostitution? There are a number of reasons why, and other countries have considered these reasons, which resulted to the legalization of prostitution in their place. So, what are these reasons? First, the legalization of prostitution may minimize the likelihood of STDs. According to one study, legalization of prostitution is linked to more financial support for sex worker health programs and better access to brothels for outreach workers. It requires all prostitutes to undergo regular health checks, ensuring that they are not infected with a sexually transmitted disease. Second reason is that it would provide employment rights to prostitutes. Many prostitutes are financially dependent on a pimp, John, or Madame, who often steal more than half of their earnings. The legalization of prostitution would safeguard their rights and put an end to this sort of enslavement and removes the significant impediment to sex workers reporting rape and other crimes. And it makes it more difficult for abuse against sex workers to go unpunished. The third reason is that illegal prostitution costs us money. While the expenses are difficult to measure, the police force, public defender's office, and the legal system are all affected. All of these resources may be better used to track down and prosecute dangerous criminals. The fourth reason is that prostitution that is legalized would be profitable. We could charge legalized prostitution in the same manner we tax hospitality and luxury services, which is typically higher than the regular sales tax. And lastly, it would reduce abuse against women. Legalization fosters better working conditions for sex workers in several ways. One of which is allowing workers to organize. Sex workers can organize better to address risk concerns in the workplace and demand better working conditions. If these reasons are considered by the people upon deciding whether or not prostitution should be legalized, then many sex workers will be protected and will possibly overcome the stigma brought by the negative outlook in prostitution. We also suggest some rules and regulations that should be implemented if prostitution would be allowed in the Philippines. And this includes 1. Regular health monitoring for sex workers, especially their reproductive and mental health. Second, the workers should have freedom to choose their clients and say no to certain sexual activities, such as anal or bondage, for example. A third rule is that there should be contracts issued which lists services offered by the sex worker and consent forms that the client will oblige to the contract. And last rule is that the company in which the sex worker is an employee, if there is any, should provide the right salary and benefits to the workers. We should focus on these things if prostitution would be legalized in the Philippines to ensure the well-being of all sex workers.